Hey everyone, Happy New Year. I hope you're doing all right. I'm just getting back into the swing of things. Usually January, especially the beginning of January, is kind of like that phase where you're just like, I gotta go back to the routine. Start off the new year. So that's what I'm doing right now. There's a bunch of news that came out near the end of December, but by then I was pretty much burned out, so I needed a break. And so this is me, again, getting back into the swing of things. So of course Jump Festa took place back in December. That's the Japanese version of Comic-Con, where major announcements are made in order for us to have like some vague idea of what to look forward to during the next year. But for the purposes of this channel, for the purposes of this video, I'm only going to be covering the stuff that I think is relevant and important for my channel. That's just kind of like, I think it's the best way to do it. The Dragon Ball Super Broly movie will be released here officially in the United States January 16th. So you can get your tickets for that if you want. It's also the first anime ever to screen in IMAX in the US. Now, in all honesty, leaks of the movie are already online, but this is where you get to make a decision about how you're going to enjoy and experience the film. There are some action sequences in this film that you just won't be able to experience fully. I think like it's definitely not the same experience watching it on an IMAX or watching it in a theater where your eyes are just focused on the entire screen, on the details of the animation, versus watching a recording of somebody in a theater room getting interrupted by people getting up to go to the bathroom, or just, the camera moving, the angles are all shifty. But ultimately, the choice is up to you. You get to decide how much you want to support this film and how you want to do it. And speaking of that, Toriyama did release a statement at Jump Festa, and I'm just going to read you the end of it because I think it's kind of funny how he pokes fun at his own work. He says, to all boys, adult men with hearts of boys, and the perhaps few in number women who understand the hearts of boys, by all means, please see this movie and get fired up. For me personally, the work Dragon Ball is nothing but fighting, which, to be perfectly frank, isn't something I like all that much. Which I think is pretty true and mature of him to admit, that the biggest pull of Dragon Ball is the action, is the fights. If you look at the story, I've said this before, but the story of Dragon Ball is actually pretty basic. It's not too complicated. The biggest time where Dragon Ball Super wanted to complicate the story was during the Zamasu arc, and we all know how that ended. It ended with a Deus Ex Machina resolution. I mean, we literally have Zeno coming in by the end of the arc to erase the complications because it got way too out of hand. So overall, the story is very simple, but then Toriyama mentioned something that I think is also very true, which is that there's a sense of enjoyment that he gets out of the simplicity of it. And I think it's because he realizes that deep down, a story doesn't have to be complicated to be enjoyable, it just has to be engaging. He finishes off his statement by saying, "I'm now an old geezer through and through, but I'm also coming up with ideas for my next work. Let's meet again sometime in my next work." Now, as far as I'm aware, right now, there is no official confirmation whatsoever that the Dragon Ball Super anime will be returning this year. If you look around, I guarantee most of what you will find will be clickbait articles and news about Dragon Ball Super coming out this year, or coming back this year. We have no official confirmation as of yet. If you want to follow the story of what happens after the Tournament of Power, watch the Broly movie and also read the manga. That's the best way of keeping up with the Dragon Ball Super universe. Right now, the manga just entered the Galactic Patrol Prisoner arc, which features the antagonist, or the villain, named Moro, Planet Eater Moro, who is kind of like a space goat wizard of sorts that has the ability to absorb the life energy from planets. Apparently, he's so strong that the Galactic Patrol has wanted to execute him for the last 10 million years, but they haven't been able to because he's just so strong. So again, no official confirmation of the Dragon Ball Super anime coming back in 2019 from Jump Festa. That being said, however, I just have to make this brief observation. When Dragon Ball Super, the anime, was first announced, the announcement came at the end of April, and very few of us were expecting any type of announcement that big. So even though they didn't announce the return of the anime in Jump Festa, they could announce something during the year. Is it likely? No, but it has happened before, and I'm just going to make that observation. Also, if the anime returns, fans are speculating that they'll probably start up with a rehash of the Broly movie, pretty much how the anime started with a rehash of the Battle of Gods movie and that cringe-worthy animation. My dear friend Masashi Kishimoto, who I had the pleasure of running into in a bathroom one time, has finally revealed the title of his new work, post Naruto, and it's called Samurai 8.
There's a small trailer for it already with new character designs and everything. You can go check it out. We don't really know too much about the story, but we do know that it premieres in spring and that it will be combining two of Kishimoto's favorite things, which is Japanese culture, which is kind of self-explanatory with the title of Samurai being there, but also science fiction.
Now this is just me, but I kind of get the impression that this is what Kishimoto originally wanted to do with Boruto, with the Boruto series, which he supervises, because some of the ninja tech in Boruto was very science fiction-like. Like there's a moment where Boruto gets a lightsaber and there's all this robotic tech and stuff. So this new manga of his will probably be a good outlet for him, a good place for him to express his true love for science fiction the way he wants to. And without interfering with the Naruto verse that he already established. Now, here's the thing. He's not going to be drawing the series. He's going to be writing the story.
He's actually partnering with an illustrator called Akira Okubo. So he'll be in charge of the drawings. But the thing is, if you look at the trailer, some of the character designs look very similar to Kishimoto's old work. In fact, one of the characters really reminded me of like a young Tobirama.
I read a statement from Kishimoto that was also given at Jump Festa, and there was one part that really struck me where he said, like, I'm working, I'm trying my best to make this manga even better than Naruto. I mean, I kind of get why he would feel pressure to say that, because he wants to sell it, right? Just like they were trying to sell Boruto. But ultimately, I think the work will speak for itself, and all you can do is just hope for the best. Now, again, this series will be released in spring in Weekly Shonen Jump. Now, the thing that I don't know, though, is whether or not this series will be a monthly release or a weekly release. Because just because it's said to be part of Weekly Shonen Jump does not mean that it will be week by week, that we will be getting new chapters. In fact, Boruto is also part of Weekly Shonen Jump, and that thing gets released monthly. So I still want to know whether it's going to be a weekly thing or a monthly. I know a lot of people are just going to end up reading this anyway because it's Kishimoto who's in charge of the writing, and there's a lot of nostalgia. A lot of people love Naruto. So the initial audience is there for this to do well. It's just that at some point, a series, a new idea, a new concept, a new story has to be able to have legs and stand up by itself, regardless of any other work that the author may be associated to. That's exactly why, presently, J.K. Rowling, who wrote Harry Potter, has been receiving a lot of hate. A lot of the new stuff that she started working on after finishing Harry Potter, just a lot of fans, a lot of previous fans just didn't like it. And so, again, work has to be able to stand up by itself. If it's a new series, it's a blank check, blank slate for people to either enjoy it or dislike it. And I wish Kishimoto all the best come spring 2019. April of this year is going to be such a hectic month. Not only do we have the premiere of Avengers Endgame, we also have the beginning, the start of the final season of Game of Thrones. Those two things alone would have been enough. But we also have the return of One Punch Man. One Punch Man Season 2 coming back in April. I love this show. For those of you who've been following me for a while, you know that I reviewed the first season. It was such a phenomenon. Similar to Dragon Ball, the story is super basic. The premise is just so simple. It's almost like those comic strips that you would find at the end of the newspaper every week come to life, essentially. But the quality of the animation, plus the sound, plus the endearing character traits, the humanity of the characters just makes this an overall really, really fun experience to watch. Now, I don't keep up with the manga, so I'll be going into the season 2 pretty blind for the most part, but I have heard, I've learned that there's a lot of hype surrounding this guy right here. I may be mistaken, but I think he may have been mentioned briefly at the end of season 1. I do want to mention one thing that happened last year that was kind of sad that I noticed, which was that Attack on Titan season 3 came on. It started, and I began noticing that it was different. It wasn't sort of like the same sort of series that I think some fans had fallen in love with back in season 1 and season 2, and it was a little bit disappointing because it did feel like a completely different series. It felt like just a bunch of info dumps, massive info dumps, and so I just felt like, it honestly felt like I was watching two completely different series. So Attack on Titan season 3 just wasn't the same. It didn't have the same essence that season 1 and 2 had. Then again, when it comes to Attack on Titan, people were already warning me, even before season 3 started, that there was going to be a tonal shift, that it was going to get more political. There's going to be more information to absorb and stuff, so that the shift was coming. And when it comes to One Punch Man, I have not received any such warning. So I strongly believe that maybe the essence stays the same and maybe it gets even better. And that's my hope. My only concern is that the essence of the show changes and it's like, well, what happened here? Because honestly, that thing that happened with Attack on Titan, I had never experienced that in a series before, where it's just so different. And it's like, what is this? Like, this is not the thing that I had connected with before. And that was just very disappointing. So I really hope that One Punch Man, that doesn't happen at all.
That being said, I'm going to end this bad boy talking about One Piece. 2019 is the 20th anniversary of the anime. We will be entering the Wano arc in the anime, and we will also be getting a new movie this year. One Piece Stampede is the name, and we already have some new sketches of new costumes for the Straw Hats already online. You can look them up. Luffy looks like he has some kind of a Viking / giant helmet on his back, and then Frankie's like, dressed up as a gladiator. So I'm not really sure what kind of a style we're going for in this movie. To be honest, like, I wasn't sold on this movie initially, but Oda released a statement in Jump Festa, and that just kind of piqued my interest. And I'm just going to read you the part that really got me. He says, "I don't have permission to tell you about the plot yet, but let me tell you this movie could only have been done for the 20th anniversary. Without this occasion, I would not let such a movie be produced." And he says that as he was kind of conducting the prep for it, during the meetings, he said several times, "Wait a minute, do you want One Piece to stop? But let's do it. After all, we have to celebrate."
To me, that statement makes it very clear that this new Stampede movie, because it is a special occasion, I think that Oda is allowing this movie to have something, maybe not all of it, maybe not even like half of it, but at least something about this movie is going to tie into canon for sure. I think that's pretty much a guarantee, given his reaction. Just to give you an example, probably not the best example, but one that I could find, is that there's a One Piece movie 7, and that's another movie that Oda also didn't have involvement in, but in it there's a scene where Luffy is up against a guy in a machine, and you literally see him get the idea for Gear Second during that fight scene, because he's up against the machine, so his body begins to replicate the pumping and the way that the blood is going to flow throughout his body to increase his speed. So a lot of people, though, didn't take that scene as an explanation for Gear Second, because Gear Second was released in the manga before that movie came out. But I think maybe this movie, Stampede, could do the opposite, where in which it gives us an explanation to something that hasn't happened in the manga yet. And so you see the movie, and then we read a chapter somewhere down the road, and you're like, oh, this is from this part in the movie. And maybe that, that's becomes like semi-canon or something.
If I'd had to guess what that would be, I would probably say that it's either something related to Kid and his double fruit power because of the poster that we got, which is just a bunch of scraps of metal, or it could also be something related to Elbaf and the Giants, based off of Luffy having that giant helmet on his back in one of those sketches. Now, when it comes to the anime itself, we got a very brief look at Luffy wearing his Wano outfit in one of the promos. Super brief, less than a second actually, but I'm willing to bet, given the quality of the animation of this small little clip here, I'm willing to bet that this is actually part of a new opening that we're going to get this year as well. There's just no way that the current opening, Superpowers, is going to stay with us post the beginning of Wano. So that will be changed for sure, I guarantee it, especially because it's the 20th anniversary. So I just based off of that, they would want to do something special. They would get rid of Superpowers as an opening and replace it with something new.
The Luffy versus Katakuri fight will be ending in the anime the first week of February, and then after Whole Cake Island, we go into the Reverie. So there's still some time for this new Wano opening to be released, or to premiere, I guess. And speaking of the Reverie, Oda also mentioned in his Jump Festa statement that something major, an unbelievable event, will take place within the Reverie. Which is kind of funny to me, because it's like, wait a minute, something major already happened during the Reverie. That there was recently a revelation that admirals were clashing against the revolutionaries at Reverie. And unfortunately, we didn't get to see that. I get the impression that what happened was is that Oda got a little bit of cold feet. He got a little bit scared because fans were we were loving the Reverie arc. It was just amazing. Every single week, like, he knocked it out of the park with each of those chapters. And I think he got scared that it was just becoming way too popular, and the main character wasn't even in that arc. And it's like, oh no, like, this is Luffy's story. I gotta remind the fans that this is about Luffy. Let's go back to the main character. He's supposed to be the character that I want you to love. So he started off Wano and then decided to have the Reverie just be mentioned in passing. So it's a good thing that we're going back to Reverie, or at least we'll hear about what that unbelievable event will be in some way. Maybe in between the acts of Wano. But again, if he really had wanted to, I think he would have given us Sabo and Dragon versus Admiral Fujitora and Green Bull, if he really wanted to. And finally, I just want to bring up something really quick. During the 2017 Jump Festa, I strictly remember that the statement that was made there was that in 2018, we would get introduced to this hidden legend of sorts in the One Piece world. Like, people were really excited. Oh, like, who's going to be the hidden legend? And I think the fact that he did not bring that up during this statement means that it's already been revealed. So to me, that hidden legend that was hyped up back in 2017, in December 2017, has to be either Imu, of the world government, or it could have also been Rocks, which is a group, at least that's what we understand it to be. It's a group of pirates that existed 40 years, that were like the top dogs. Like, these guys were on top 40 years before Roger became the Pirate King. So it's either or Rocks at this point. I think that's what Oda meant when he mentioned that a hidden legend was going to be revealed. That's going to do it for me today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Like the video if you did. If you appreciated the information, let me know what you thought down below. And subscribe to my channel, because it seems like it's going to be a pretty good year. So, cheers for New Year. Catch you guys later. Oh, I just recently found out that apparently, due to a lack of host, the cast of The Avengers is likely to be handing out the Oscars this year. So, never know what's going to happen. Crazy. 2019. Thank you for watching. Thanks a bunch. Bye.